Are you trying to find the perfect basketball shooting form? Coach Jesse Minchin with Get Handles. Today I'm going to show you how to find the best basketball shooting form for you. Perfect basketball shooting form. What exactly is that? If you look over the years, what was considered perfect shooting form has changed quite a bit. From Larry Bird, who shot more back here. You had Chris Mullin, who would shoot more here. Reggie Miller had some funky form. Then you go to more modern day and Steph Curry. Now everyone thinks everyone should shoot like Stephen Curry. And I gotta mention Ray Allen, he had a little bit different form too, right? Every player's got a little bit different style to their shot. These are guidelines. You're gonna wanna play around with them and see what works for you. So the very first thing you wanna keep in mind that a lot of players don't think too much about is your feet. Your positioning with your feet, okay? Typically, if you watch the best NBA shooters, I'm a lefty, so I'm gonna show you everything with lefty. If you're righty, just flip it around. But typically the best NBA shooters will have their shooting side foot a little bit forward. What that allows you to do is align your shooting side up, so it's a lot easier to keep that elbow in and get everything lined from your toes to your hips, knee, elbow, wrist, all that, shoulder, get that all in a straight line on that shooting side, so it feels a lot more natural and smooth. It'll help you boost your range and a whole bunch more. Again, you're gonna wanna play around with this. The other thing you wanna think about with your feet is typically I would recommend getting them about shoulder width apart. Again, though, you might want to play around with this. I've noticed some shooters have a little bit wider stance. Some have their feet really close together. Go with what works for you, but you're definitely going to want to start paying attention to these things so you can find your perfect shooting form. Typically, though, if you watch the best NBA shooters, they have their feet about shoulder width apart. Some are a little bit in, some are a little bit out, but it's usually right about shoulder width apart. Okay, let's move up the chain a little bit. Let's talk about the rest of your legs. You want to have your legs bent a little bit. Some players, again, they're going to dip down way more. Some players just do a little bit of a dip. If you watch Stephen Curry, he just has a real quick, short dip, and he really does a good job of timing his shot release, so all that energy transfers right into his shot. That's why he has such great range without dipping down super far. But again, for you, you might find dipping down with your knees and your hips is a little bit more effective. One thing to keep in mind though is you want to make sure you are getting somewhat of a dip. You want to make sure your hips come back a little bit, almost like you're about to sit down in a chair. And what that's going to do is you'll notice now my knees start bending a little bit and I get a little bit of a bend in my ankle joint too. So now, boom, 3 joints that are helping me spring into the air from the legs. Okay, let's talk about your arms and your hands. A lot going on here that's obviously gonna make a big impact on your shot. A lot of players from here all the way to here, there's gonna be a lot of different types of form and changes from player to player. So again, figure out what works for you. Typically, the main thing you really wanna pay attention to is this last endpoint is very consistent. So you're gonna wanna focus on that, getting that release the same, not just with the shooting hand, but also with the guide hand. A couple things you want to pay attention to. Let's talk more just from the setup. Typically, I would recommend, and again, play around with this, getting this wrist bent back, make sure you get the elbow bent. Just kind of like we talked about before with your legs, that allows you to get more power into your shot. Same thing here. You get this bent back, you get your elbow bent, that's going to get you more power in the shot. I would also recommend trying to align the base of your palm with the hoop. That's going to allow you to have a shot that goes up nice and smooth, all one motion. Now, there are going to be changes from player to player. Like Lonzo Ball. He starts with the ball kind of over here and shoots that way, right? But at the release, he still ends up at the same point like we talked about earlier. Other players are gonna start out here. Me, I know I tend to have my elbow out just a little bit, and if you actually watch LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball's younger brother, he kind of does a form where his elbow's really out, and he almost shoots the ball kind of with 2 hands. And then also Kyrie Irving. He has a little bit of a thumb flick on his shot. Every player's got a little bit different, tweak on their form, but you wanna make sure that you're being as consistent as possible with the release. Now, if you're gonna try to change your form, keep in mind that's gonna take a while to do that, especially with this stuff up here, your shoulders, your elbow, your hands, all that positioning. That thumb flick that we were talking about that Kyrie Irving has, typically that's something I would recommend a player try to get rid of. The reason it's okay with Irving is he kind of flicks his thumb before he actually releases with his shooting hand. Now, if you have a shot where you're kind of flicking the thumb right as you're releasing the ball, what that can do is put all kinds of funky side spin on the ball, push the ball left, sometimes it'll push it right if you don't have the flick, and that's gonna make your shot crazy inconsistent. If you can, try to get rid of that thumb flick by making sure you're either dropping that guide hand off sooner or trying to think about pointing it so it's straight forward with your thumb tucked in or even slightly in, so that way it doesn't interfere with the shot. One other technique you might want to try is just working on your start position, changing where that guide hand is, so then it's in a position where you can't really flick the thumb. If you have it more on the front of the ball or the top of the ball, it's really hard to have a thumb flick in there. All right, getting into some of the more fine details as far as your hands and your release, you want to try to focus on which finger you're aligning with the hoop as well. So typically what I tell players is wherever you are around the court, there's going to be a little link where the rim hooks up to the net, right? Pick one of those links that's exactly in the middle. Typically, I tell a player one on the back of the rim, so that way if you miss short, you can still have that chance of making the shot, and if you miss long, you still have a chance of making the shot because it could bounce around the rim off the backboard or whatnot. But if you aim for the front of the rim and you miss short, that's an air ball. You miss long, then you still have that chance of making it, but again, you have that air ball possibility, so that's why I tell players to aim for the back of the rim. So when you find that link, you want to align that shooting finger, basically your entire shooting side with it, but especially you're trying to drill down that shooting finger. Now, there's two different ways players are going to typically approach how they release if they're a more traditional type of shooter. It's either going to be a release using their pointer finger or a release more with the middle finger, and then there's some players that do almost like a split finger release where it's both the pointer and the middle finger. Play around with it, figure out what you use more of, whichever one it is. If you're a pointer finger, you want to get that aligned. If you're middle finger, you want to get that aligned with that link in the middle of the rim, so that way if you miss that tiny target, left or right, you'll still probably make the big target, which is the hoop. And if you're a split finger, try to aim so right in the middle of those two fingers lines up with the hoop. Final big key tip that probably is getting overlooked by you, and this is one I find with me actually makes the biggest impact on my shot, is how early are you locking in on the rim. A lot of players tend to, go from their dribble move or catching the ball, and they're looking at the ball, and as they're going up into their shot, then they first started getting their eyes on the rim. You want to try to get your eyes on the rim before you even gather the basketball. What that's going to do for you is a lot of things that you're probably not thinking of. Number one, if you aren't looking at the rim until you've completely set your feet up, now what happened is if your feet aren't perfectly aligned, that's going to make it a lot harder to make the shot. Now, one little hack I can give you though is, in that instance, if you're a little bit more of a jump shooter where you release more in the air and it's not as much of a one motion shot, you can really still try to align this, especially this forearm area, up as you're getting into the air. But typically, especially if you're more of a one motion shooter, I would recommend trying to get your eyes locked in on the rim sooner. That's why I like Stephen Curry. If you ever watch him, he's got his eyes locked on the rim before he's even picking the basketball from his dribble. Or if he's catching the ball, he's already got his eyes locked on the rim and using his peripheral vision to catch the basketball. What that again is going to allow you to do, especially if you're one motion shooter, this is huge, is get everything lined up. So that way you have a much better chance of making that shot. But if you're not locking on the rim early, all this can get out of whack. You're gonna miss more shots, and you're not gonna have as much time to focus and really lock in on that little link like we talked about earlier. All right, if you found these tips helpful, first of all, make sure you click that subscribe button and get on that notification squad so you can catch the newest videos the second they come out. They're all gonna help you improve your game big time. Also, if you really wanna improve your shooting fast, make sure you click this link right here. That's a 100% free shooting workout that'll help you improve your shot in minutes. It helped me a lot, it's helped hundreds of players a lot, and I'm sure it'll help you a lot. Just click that link, pop in your email, and I'll send that to you instantly for free. Also, if you found this video helpful, make sure you check out this video and check out this one. You'll probably find those helpful as well. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more, and make moves today.